So let's build out the form. Now remember, if I look at the routes, we're not doing this get items new route. We're just going to go to our app.js. We're still going to create a component. So come into here into our files, and what's going on here? In our components, we are going to do a item form.js. We're just going to send this along with the app. So let's go ahead and just get this kind of set up really quickly, and then make sure we can render it. So const item form. For now, return. Each one item form. Let's keep this simple for now. And export default item form. So just have our generic kind of stubbed out React component. That we will then take and add to our app. Item form. So I find that here and tab complete that to also auto import it. So line 3, item form, import item form from item form. Let's do a quick little test on that. Localhost 3000. And there we go. There's my item form component. Maybe something else I could do is just give that some styling as well, just so we're really keeping track of these. Let's do hot pink. It's my favorite color. Did I not save that? Oh, hot pink maybe is another color. Maybe let's just do pink. Anyway. Oh, I spelled style wrong. Style. That would help. So there's a form component. There's my items component. Let's do, I think we're probably not going to get to edit today. We'll save that one for tomorrow. But let's do like maybe a little, maybe I don't want to like show this by default. Like let's maybe toggle, we can toggle this form. So if I want to toggle a form, what do you think I'm going to need?
A state.
Yes, state, because is my form, is it toggled or not? Or like show form. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's do this in our app.js. And so I'm going to, because it's like my app.js, this is rendering the item form. And let me show you this. I can do something. Let me show you this little trick. True. We're just going to hard code this for now. I'm just going to use an and, true and item form. Let's refresh. Let's see what that does. Just a little experimenting. Cool. That shows my item form. If I say false and item form, I refresh. Now my item form's gone. I'm just going to open up Node really quick just so we can see like what's going on with this. Let's just kind of think about this just logically. for 1 second. If I were, we're doing just a conditional, we're talking about conditionals here. If I were to say like, it is Wednesday and whatever, does it really matter what I say next? Oh, wait, sorry, I'm saying this wrong. Yes, it does. It totally matters what I say next, right? So that's what's going on here. If this is true, then I have to go and see what the next thing is. If it's false, if I say like today is Friday, and it doesn't matter what the next thing is because that's just false, right? So this is called short circuit evaluation. And your computer, like the computer will do this, like it just kind of does, it's programmed to be like, well, false and whatever is going to be false. So I don't even need to look at the next thing. So if you have like an if statement that's like if false and some like really complicated expression, like it's just going to go see that this is false, and then it's not even going to, it's going to stop right there. It's kind of like smart enough. It's not really, it's just code, it's programmed that way to be like, well, this will never be true, so I don't need to go on. So we can use that little trick to write this nice expression like this. Like we can get a Boolean and use the and to render this, to kind of conditionally render this. I could use like an if else statement, but you'll see this a lot with React. It's a nice clean way to like render something or not. But let's go ahead. I don't want to hard code this. Let's throw that into state. So const show. So I want some show form state. Set show form. You can call this whatever. I think show form is a decent name. By default, let's not show the form. And so now instead of using this false, I can use that show form. Sorry, was there a question? Okay. So now I use that. I'm not showing the form. Really, why does this take like 5 seconds to load that? But now I need a way to kind of toggle that. So let's do like let's do another one of like, let's just do like a paragraph. So this one, we're going to use a ternary. Because I'm going to want to, so if show form is true, this means it's showing the form. So I'm going to want to say like hide. If show form is false, I'm going to want to say, let's say new item. So I refresh that. New item. But yeah, that's not really working. So I need to like do a on click. Set show form to be not show form. So so whenever this paragraph is clicked, I'm going to set the show form and I'm going to take the Boolean, so it's either true, and then I'm just going to negate it. So if it's true, I'm going to set it to false. If it's false, I'm going to set it to true. So this is a nice little trick to toggle a Boolean. Just set it to the opposite of its current value. And then I need to refresh that to get that change. Now when I click on that, now I can like show the form, and then the text also changes. New item. Maybe that looks a little, maybe I could throw that in a button. Not that that really matters. That's just some text stuff. Throw it in a button. New item form. So now I want to break for those two buttons. Cool. So that's how we can toggle a form. When we get like, I think it's week 5, we're going to, because right now we're on like a single page. What we're going to see, and it's going to stay that way, like, but in week 5, we're going to use this thing called the React router, where we can kind of fake routes. And so we can go to different components, kind of create like this navigation. But for now, it's just all going to be on one page. Because maybe we could click a link to go to another form page. Any questions on this toggling this form? Cool. So now let's come in and start filling out this form. So here's our form. We have, let's do our paragraph. So I'm going to want like a name. I think it can just maybe be good just to start out with one of these and get it working, like one attribute. Because then once you figure out how to do one, the rest of them are going to be, you kind of have that as a template. So remember with our inputs now, how we're doing this, we're going to want use state to keep track of the state of each input form. Let's just do name state and set name. Let's maybe just set this up. Let's see if we have props.name. Actually, do we have props.name? Well, let's use that if it's given to us. If not, set it equal to a default string. So this is how I could set my state to some default values. And if I'm using props, I need to actually now declare that right there as a parameter. So I'm kind of doing a little work to maybe set this up to do edit in the future. And then I could say value equals name. And not a comma on change. Remember, I get past like an event here, and I can use that event.target.value has like the current input along with the thing that was just added. So I can do set name, and I'm going to switch this to a capital N to be e.target.value. This might be a good time to test. So my app.js, could even give this a name prop, just see if this is the name prop's working. So item form, I mean, obviously this is a new, I'm going to delete this in 1 second, but I just want to check to see if it's defaulting to that value. Can refresh. So it gets that value from prompts. And then I can also type on this. Cool. So that's looking good. I'm going to just delete this, 'cause that shouldn't really be there. Something else I want. Let's hook up our button. We could also set this one up, props.id. Is this item form getting an ID? If it has an ID, that means this is going to be edit. If it doesn't have an ID, that means it's going to be new. So if it has an ID, I'm going to use the update text. If it doesn't, I'm going to use the add. See how are you seeing the benefits of ternaries? Like if I had to do a whole bunch of if, I'd probably have to like write these in separate functions like these if else. But the ternaries, like they come up quite a bit and they're really clean. So now I need a on submit handler. Let's call this whatever handle submit, generic name. Define that handle submit function. This, remember, takes an event. And let's just console.log our name. So I'm not using this on purpose for now. So let's just remind ourselves what happens. So I refresh to get these changes. Go to my console, new item form, test, hit add. I saw that test go up really quick and then it goes away. And see, so let's say I click the get items, there are my items, I hit my new item form, I type something and I click add. Well, now my items are gone because it's refreshing. This is why we don't want to refresh our page. We don't want to do it. It's a single page application. We just get the HTML once and then we get our data through Axios. So this is why I need to remember to do the e.prevent default, because I don't want that page. I don't want it to try to do the HTTP request by default. And then I did see the console.log name that was working, but we can just test this out really quick. Refresh that. We can get the items, show our new item form. There's the log. So it's logging what's in there and it's not destroying my state. And like this is already just I already have the item form, so I don't have to do like a get request to get it. I'm just like can hide that in my UI and like, oh, it's already there. Boom. So it like pops up instantaneously. And getting my items, like that's actually doing an Axios call, but that's like it's pretty fast. So I don't have to get all the HTML, all the CSS. It doesn't have to build the React component. It's just like it's already like good to go. So let's go ahead and just let's do our handler. Let's leave the form as is. Actually, no, let's leave the form as is and think about how we want to do this call now.
Will you lock out the form, please?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So with this, so here's the trick. Right now, all of our state is living in our app. So I say we kind of do all of this stuff here that has to do with our items. Because we definitely have to do all of our React UI stuff in here, but we could potentially do our Axios call. We could do it in the form, and we could do it in the app, but let's just do it here for now. So I want like a a create method. So let's do const. Let's just call this add item. I'm going to expect this to take an item. And for now, I just want to console.log it. My goal right now is to get this add item function like hooked up to my form. I want to get the data from my form to this function. I would normally just call this add item, the name of the prop, but I'm just going to name it differently so you're not getting confused about which is which. Or let's call it add item prop. So this is the prop name, add item prop, and I'm assigning it the value add item, which is the function. So in my item form, I now have props.add item prop, which is that function add item in my app. So let's pass that. Let's pass it as an object, the name. I'm going to get rid of that console.log just so I can see the console.log in my app. Refresh this. Get new items. Then I can hit test, hit add. Cool. So now I'm logging from my form that object, but I'm logging that in my app.js. So yay, that's like success. I now have my data. But and yesterday what you would do, you would add to state at this point. But we need to add to database. And if successful, add to state. We don't want to add it to our UI if it didn't successfully create it to the database, because that would mislead the user that, hey, it was stored to the database. So this is going to be, we're going to use Axios inside of here. So I'm going to make this an async function. I'm going to do my try catch block. All these comments up here. So add to database. What do you think the Axios call is going to be?
Post.
Yeah, Axios.post. So they have a post function, which is going to do a post request. And then I can do the slash items. But I need to pass, I need to pass some data here. So I'm going to pass an object, name, et cetera. But that is my item. My item is an object, so I don't need the brackets there. So I can just say item. Console.log. Let's set this equal to res. Await. Console.log res. And then for here, let's do an alert. Fail to create. And then we can console.log the error. All right, so let's try this out. Let's go ahead and refresh this. New item form from React, add. Was this successful? I don't, I'm to get my items. Ooh, there it is. From React. But yeah, if I come in here and do like another one, it's not automatically in there. I have to say get items. Did that not? Get items. Oh, there it is, another. So it's working, but it's not like automatically updating my UI. But that's the first step. We've added it to the database. And I can see here res.data. That is my newly created item. So if successful, add to state. So now I can do something like let new items equals, I can spread out over my items. Now I don't want to add item here because item does not have the ID. I want to add res.data. And then I can set items to new items. You know, I feel like this is simple enough where I don't need to actually store this to a variable and then throw that in here. I think this is better written as just that. But you can do it either way. That's a preference. And just another thing to note, like I use a lot of console.logs just because I'm trying to show you stuff and show you things. But if you're to really push this to production, you're not going to want to have console. You'd want to like remove all your console.logs before you go to like production. But I leave them in there just because I think they're useful. They're really good to like show you what's going on at your code. Like console.logs are going to be really useful when you're like trying to figure out what's going on, why stuff is working, why it isn't working. So let's test this out. So we can talk about phone, test, yo, add that. See, that's adding it to the state now. Then if I get items, so this, something I might want to do is like this form is not, like I hit add and the value is still there. I might want to clear that out. What I could do is in my item form, is after I submit it, you know, I could go ahead and do like props dot. I could do set name to an empty string. And that would clear it out. Okay, so let's do this as well. Let's maybe try to do a little error handling. Because if I don't have a name and I hit add, there's my fail to create alert. And I don't see anything. So since we only have our name validation, we'll keep this pretty simple. This can get, but let's just handle this error really quick. So it's not an alert. Let's come into our app.js. And so we also log that error. We get this weird, like, there's our 422 error. I'm going to go ahead and throw in a debugger right here. Because it's that 422, but it's like, where's that like error message? I want to find that error message. So let's go ahead and, I guess I didn't. No, let's refresh this. And you don't need to throw in the debugger. You can just watch this. I can come in, new form, add. Now I'm in my debugger. It's a new error. Where is it? Oh, we need to do it below here. Sometimes I might need to use the debugger after I define that. Let's see if that, because I want to look at this error. New item form, add. There's my error. I can click OK. Okay, so now I'm in my debugger. It's res there. Response. Why is that not picking up that error? Let's do some of these. Okay. Well, now I'm trying to think why this isn't coming back. Get new items, add, hit the debugger. Res. Why is my error not defined? It's a response. All right, I'm going to skip this for now. I don't know what I'm just like brain farting here. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. It's logging the error, but I can't use it in my debugger. It's right there. Let's see if I can. All right, I'm just going to skip this for now. Sorry. I'll figure this out. We'll talk about this. I don't know why I can't grab that error data. Because it's logging it. We do log it right there, app.js line 30. There's that logging it. But I want to go in and grab, the message should be there. Go in and like find, like, I know that JSON's there, but I'll deal with that later. Okay. So we'll just do for now, do the give yourself an alert. And then I'll maybe throw it out in Slack to show that. But let's do another thing before lunch, because we're not going to do update. And yeah, I guess tomorrow, since we're working on this tomorrow, we'll do the error handling. But I want to do delete really quick. Because last time delete was pretty easy. But this time it's going to be a little more challenging. Because the reason why it's going to be a little harder is I'm going to put the button here on my item. I have to really delete me. So the button, the button where it's going to be clicked is on the item component. So we can refresh that. Get my items. So there's my button. But this lives, this component, like the state is in the app. If I go back to like this diagram, like I have my app, which, this has my items. And then my button is here. So I'm going to have this like delete. So in my app, I'm going to have like this delete item function. But then I'm going to have to pass that down to the items. And then the items is going to pass it down to each item. So I have to pass this delete item through my items to my item. You love that lovely diagram. So let's do that, because let's create this delete item. Let's figure out how to like delete an item from the UI first. There's a lot of different ways you can kind of like get this working. So let's do delete item. Let's just say this, remove from UI. I can go look, I have the IDs, like let's just go remove 10 from the UI in this function. So how do I do that?
Filter.
Filter, yep. So let's just go through my IDs. Let's just come here and like, let's say ID equals 10. It's not going to be defined, or we'll call this function. So we'll do this. Items.filter, go through each item. If the item.id does not equal the ID that was passed, then we'll keep it. And we can set items to new items. Once again, this might be clean enough where you can do that, but I'll leave that like this. And then I'll just throw this on my app. On click, delete item 10. I'm just seeing, I just created this delete item function, and I'm going to call it right here on my app. I'm not going to worry about passing it down to where, I just want to see if it's working. Am I removing it from the UI? So I can refresh. Get my items, click my app. Okay, it removes it from the UI. If I click it, items, it doesn't remove it from the database though. But that's fine. That's all I was trying to do. So I have that part working. We could also do so now that we have, that's the UI part, we could do the database part. So I can make this an async. And once again, do the try catch. Error. I'm just going to copy this stuff for my error. All right. So let response equal await. Axios dot, what is this going to be? At least I thought I saw you move.
Is it delete?
Yeah, delete.
Not destroy, it's delete.
Yeah, this one is delete.
Okay.
Because that's the HTTP verb. And this one I need to interpolate the ID. So I'm going to go to /items and then the ID of the item. And that's going to be the thing that was passed. And then if this successfully deletes, then I can go ahead and remove it from my UI. Do I need to use the res here? Not necessarily, because I already have the ID. I could do something like res.data.id, or I could just use the ID that was passed to me. So I really don't even need to store that to a variable. I just need to destroy it. Cool. So, and let's do it this way too. I'm going to just throw this above here. Probably don't want to do that, right? Let me show you why the order is important. I'm going to refresh. Wait, I need to actually get my items. Get the items. It removes it from the UI, but oh, I failed to delete it from the database. So I probably want to, the order is important that I do this after this delete call. I want to make sure that that this is successful and then remove it from my UI. So this is delete from database. And this is removed from UI. No, that is like removing from the state. So now if I do this, we refresh. I want to get my items first. I try to delete it. I get a fail to delete. So that alert, it's useful in the fact that it's telling me I hit the catch. Like something went wrong here. That's useful. But other than that, it's not that helpful. So this is where you either need to, where you really need to start using your debugging tools. And some of your biggest debugging tools are going to be like console.logs, debuggers, binding.pries, but it's also going to be things like your inspect element. Looking at your console, seeing the 404 error right there. But also this one's sometimes the console even doesn't give you the best errors. I mean, a 404, that's a pretty good error. That's pretty much telling us what's wrong. Another good place to look is in your browser. Sorry, in your Rails server. This one's probably going to be a little more specific. And there's the error right there. The action destroy cannot be found. How does it know to go to destroy? I swear we didn't define the. Okay, that's a surprise to me.
I think you have the resources in your route.
Oh, did I?
I think it auto-populated with it.
Okay. Oh, I do. Yeah. Okay. When I did the resource items. Oh yeah. So yeah, I was like, that route should not be defined. I didn't know that. Yeah, that was put there automatically. Because I did the Rails G resource items. So yeah. I mean, so I guess I really don't even need these, but yeah, I was kind of expecting, you know, I would have to go in and define this. Items destroy. But yeah, since I have that, I don't need that. Okay, so yeah, let's go back to the actual error then, which is the items controller. My destroy method. Let's go ahead and grab my item at item. Item dot find params ID. And then, so we find it, and then I can just render JSON item dot destroy. This just returns the thing that it destroyed. So I can I can call the destroy call, that'll complete it, and then it'll return it. So go back, refresh, get my items, click on my app button, failed to delete, internal server error. So whenever you see a 500 error, you definitely 100% want to check your Rails server. Because it's a pretty vague error here. I mean, this is a really useful error in the sense that it's saying, hey, go look at your Rails server. So let's go look at our Rails server. And there's our error. Undefined local variable method param. Misspelled it. Totally on purpose to show you that error. Params. Let's refresh this again. Get items. Delete. Yay. Did it actually work? I could check my server. I could I can see that like being deleted, but you don't know SQL yet, so that might be a little hard to tell. So the way to really tell is to refresh your app. Or I could have got the items again. I forgot we have that button. But I get the items again. 10 is gone. If I hit app, there's my error. What is this error? Active record could not find item with ID 10. So yeah, we're really not done with this because we're just hard coding that 10. But we did something important there. We got, even though we were hard coding something, we got it working. Right? That was a step in the right direction. because now I know this project, the delete function, it goes to the database, it deletes it, and then after it deletes it, it removes it from the UI. So that's like very, very close to being done. Now I need to figure out how to actually pass that function down to actually have it on the thing itself. So this delete item function is working. I just don't want to hard code it like this. So I'm going to get rid of this on click on my H1. So I need this delete item. I need this on my item.js, like right here on click. This is where I want to do this, right? Delete item. And I can pass it the ID. And I'm getting the ID right there from props. If I do this though, I'm going to get, what error am I going to get?
Delete item is undefined.
Yeah. Can't just magically put, that'd be awesome if I could put delete item right there. But there's my error. Delete item's not defined because I just made up that name. So I got to pass this down as props. So what renders my item? My items component renders my item. So I actually got to pass this through that one. So if I go to my app.js, I'm going to go through here and pass it here. I'm just going to keep the name the same, but just remember, this is delete item, the orange thing. That's going to be the name of the prop. I could call that X, but I'm going to call it delete item. And then the value is going to be that actual function. So then in my items component, now this has a delete item prop. Now this is getting a delete item prop. Cool. So now I can pass that down to the item. Good. Once again, could call that like QW. But I'm going to call this delete item. And now my item is getting that delete item prop, and bam, now that's defined. So let's see if that's working. Get items, delete that one, delete. Now there's we got our delete functional. Let's do it like this. I'm going to go back and change the names. Okay, I'm calling this on my items. I'm calling this X. Can I change this name? No, that has to be delete item because that is this function. So that has to be called whatever this is called. So then in my items, this is no longer delete items. This is X. Which one needs to be changed?
The one in the curly brackets.
Yeah. Now that is X. This can be, let's make that Y. That works, right? This can be Y. But that has to be X because that's the name of the prop that it was passed to. Let's go to item. Well, now I don't get a delete item prop, I get a Y prop. That is the function, so then that needs to be called Y. Let's just test that to make sure it's working. Before I say this is how you do it. Get items, delete. So yeah, that is that. But yeah, we're not going to want to call it X and Y. I like to just call it the name of the thing. Just, but this could maybe be called like delete item handler. You might see something like that, but I'm just going to leave it like delete item. We're going to see like later on how we can do this a different way where we don't have to pass these things just down. But this is really good practice because this really forces you to understand, like this is like a brain stretch for like really comprehending props. What else do I have? Item. So my items, I want to change that back to delete item. That to delete item. This to delete item. So when you're maybe doing your homework, maybe try like practicing this, like naming these things weirdly to kind of, see if you can comprehend it. But this is one of the, like, I think this is something that people struggle with React, like the delete function, because you have to like pass this down. But if you can just kind of like visualize your app, this black component that has that actually holds the state of the items, but it's this inner nested component that needs to call the function. So we got to pass that instructions down. So cool. I think this is a good place to stop. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. We'll probably maybe do a little. We didn't even talk about use effect, so maybe that might help clarify use effect by not. We don't need use effect, because the reason we don't need use effect is because we're not getting the data when this mounts. We have a button that we need to press. If I wanted the data to be there, like when this mounted, then that's when I'd use my use effect. But we're not doing that. We just have this button that gets the items, and that's that. Let me look at the homework just while we're here. So I know this homework's going to be 2 days. So you can do a books model. If you, I don't really care if you want to do a different kind of model than books. If you want to like choose your own model, that's fine. You can do whatever model you want. Just have it have like 2 attributes, with title and author or whatever you want. So do what we're doing today, where it's kind of that single page application. You get back that app.js, and then that should be in your controller. That should be the only thing that's rendering back a component. All your other calls should be rendering back JSON. So it's that single page application. So we haven't talked about update today, so you can hold off on that one, or you can try to do it. Yeah, so from bonus objectives, sorry, we'll do the validations. I'll look at that, see what I was missing. So maybe we could do a validation on the back end, and then maybe give a little UI to be like, hey, you need to like include the name. You could try doing loading UI. We kind of showed that. We'll do more of that tomorrow, like a toggle form, style the application. So I would also say now that we're getting a little more into React, I'm going to start stressing like styling a little more. Like I think it's good practice, and this is a good way to learn styling, is just you know, on your assignments, maybe spend like 30 minutes styling them. I think that's the best way to learn styling, is just like, oh, maybe I want to make this box look nice. You kind of learn it bitwise. And I'll start also, like in lecture, I'll kind of do little styling things here and there. But yeah, that is that. Any questions or anything? Let's stop recording.